Lately, you've felt it, that quiet emptiness between your thoughts, the silence that lingers when no one's around, whispering questions you can't quite answer. You wonder if life is still guiding you, or if you've drifted too far from the rhythm you once trusted. You keep seeing patterns, the same numbers, the same faces, the same strange timing, and a part of you knows it can't all be random. But your mind, logical and loud, keeps saying it's nothing, just coincidence, just chance. And yet, your soul knows better. It remembers the way the universe used to speak, not through words but through feeling, through the electricity that moves across your skin when something unseen brushes close, through the pause before a miracle you can't explain. What if the silence isn't silence at all? What if it's a language, one you were born knowing but forgot how to hear? Because maybe the universe never stopped speaking. Maybe it's you who stopped listening. There's a kind of silence that isn't empty. It hums quietly beneath the noise of your everyday life. It's the pause between thoughts, the stillness before something happens, the invisible thread connecting moments you once called random. You've always been surrounded by it, the subtle rhythm of existence, the pulse of the universe breathing in sync with your own. But somewhere along the way, you stopped hearing it. Maybe it was when the world got louder, when notifications replaced intuition, when logic started speaking louder than wonder. You began to think coincidences were just chance, that timing was arbitrary, that meaning only lived where you could measure it. But what if you were wrong? What if the silence was never silence at all? Just a language you forgot how to understand. There are moments you've brushed off before, a song playing at the exact second you needed to hear it, a stranger's words echoing a thought you just had, a sudden delay that kept you from being in the wrong place. Tiny things, ordinary things. But they never really felt ordinary, did they? There was always that tug, a quiet knowing in your chest saying, "Pay attention. This means something." And then the mind stepped in, the analyzer, the skeptic, the translator who doesn't speak the native tongue of energy. And it told you to be reasonable. So you laughed it off. You called it luck, coincidence, a glitch in the pattern, but deep down, something in you knew better. Because even when you stopped listening, the universe never stopped speaking. It whispered through delays. It echoed through repetition. It spoke in the language of timing, energy, and alignment. And every time you ignored it, it only grew softer, waiting for you to remember how to hear. There's a field around you. You've felt it before. When you walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks, when someone you love crosses your mind and suddenly messages you. That's not imagination. That's the invisible physics of connection, the unseen communication between frequencies that exist beneath words. You are not just a body walking through space. You are an instrument in constant dialogue with reality. And the notes you play are not made of sound. They're made of thought, emotion, vibration. You send out a frequency with every feeling and the universe responds. Not to what you say, but to what you are. Every coincidence you've ever experienced, every number that repeats, every alignment that feels too perfect to explain, it isn't random. It's feedback. It's the cosmos mirroring your internal state, reflecting back to you the vibration you've been sending all along. But here's the paradox: the more you chase the signs, the more you drown them out. Because this language isn't spoken through effort. It's spoken through stillness. The signs aren't loud, they're subtle. They don't shout over your thoughts, they whisper beneath them. And only when the noise of your mind quiets, when you stop trying to control the pattern, do you start to see the pattern controlling itself around you. Think about it. The times when you were fully present, watching the sunset without rushing, walking alone in the early morning air, that instant before you fall asleep. Haven't you felt something familiar? Like the world was leaning in to tell you something, and for a brief moment you actually understood. That's the universe, speaking the only way it knows how, through resonance, through reflections of your own consciousness. It doesn't use words because words belong to separation. Energy doesn't need translation, it just needs recognition. And right now, as you listen, some part of you remembers this language. It's the same one you spoke before you learned to talk. The one you understood before logic built walls around your perception. It's the original conversation between you and everything. You never lost it. You just tuned it out. So tonight, as you lie there thinking about all the things that didn't go your way, all the waiting, all the uncertainty, I want you to imagine that maybe none of it was wasted time. Maybe the detours weren't mistakes, but messages rerouting you towards something your mind couldn't yet see. Maybe that delay you hated was divine timing. Maybe that rejection was protection. Maybe the silence was the universe teaching you to listen again. You don't have to believe it all at once. You just have to wonder. What if? What if life has always been talking to you in patterns and you were the pattern all along? What if the numbers that repeat, the people who reappear, the timing that feels too perfect, are all part of one long, continuous conversation? You've been walking through signals your whole life. They're not hidden. They're everywhere, in the rhythm of chance encounters, in the music that finds you, in the moment your intuition whispers wait right before something shifts. The more you notice, the clearer the language becomes, and the clearer it becomes, the quieter you'll need to be to hear it. Because truth doesn't arrive as noise. It arrives as recognition. And the moment you feel that quiet sense of "I knew it," that's the moment you've tuned back in. That's you remembering how to hear again. So maybe tonight, instead of asking the universe for a sign, just say, "I'm listening." And then listen, not with your ears, but with your awareness. Watch how the world responds. Notice the coincidences that line up like breadcrumbs. Notice how the things that feel out of sync begin to flow again. Because once you remember the language, it never stops speaking to you. The truth is, you were never disconnected. You were never abandoned. You just drifted out of frequency for a while. Like a radio between stations, catching fragments of meaning, but never the full song. Now you're tuning back in, and as you do, you'll realize something beautiful. That the universe was never far away. It was always right here, speaking in light and timing and whispers. You were just learning to be quiet enough to understand. So take a breath. Let the silence hum again. Feel it, that subtle vibration in the air around you. That's the sound of everything, the heartbeat of creation, reminding you that even when you thought you were lost, you were always being guided. You just forgot the language, but now you remember. You felt it before. That strange electric stillness that rushes through your body, right before something happens. The soft pull in your gut that tells you to call someone, and when you do, they say, "I was just thinking of you." It's subtle, like a whisper that never quite becomes a word. And if you don't pay attention, it fades as quickly as it came. But if you pause, if you truly listen, you start to notice it's not just happening once in a while, it's everywhere. In patterns, in moments, in the quiet choreography of your life. You call it coincidence, but coincidence is just the word we use when the universe prefers to stay anonymous. Remember the morning you woke up with a song in your head, a song you hadn't heard in years, and later that day it played on the radio like an echo from another realm. Or that time you saw the same number, 1111-222-333, over and over until it started to feel less like chance and more like a conversation. Those aren't accidents. They're alignment, energy meeting itself in time. The universe doesn't speak in English or Spanish or any language you can read. It speaks in resonance, in vibration, in a subtle nod from the cosmos saying, "Yes, you're exactly where you need to be, and I know." It's easier to doubt it, because believing means surrendering the illusion of control. It means admitting that maybe there's something bigger guiding all this. And that's terrifying for a mind trained to control, to calculate, to understand everything before it trusts anything. But deep down, you've always known there's more. You've felt it when you met someone for the first time and somehow felt like you'd known them forever. You've felt it when time seemed to bend, when a minute stretched into forever because something sacred was unfolding. You've felt it in the patterns that follow you, in the déjà vu moments that make no logical sense but feel like destiny replaying itself. These are not random glitches in your reality. They are signposts, echoes, tiny markers left by something intelligent, loving, and infinitely patient, waiting for you to look up and remember. You are not walking alone. Every synchronicity is a reflection of your frequency. Every repetition is a mirror showing you what your energy keeps calling toward itself. The universe isn't testing you. It's talking to you in the only language that never lies, vibration. And the more aligned you become within yourself, the clearer that language gets. Because clarity outside only appears when there's calm inside. You can't read the wind when the surface of the lake is storming. But when it's still, you see everything reflected perfectly. Think of that moment you hesitated before saying yes to something that didn't feel right. That small, quiet hesitation. That was intuition speaking in its native tongue. But then the mind, loud and clever, said, "Don't overthink it. You're being silly," and you ignored it. You said yes. And later, when things fell apart, you said to yourself, "I knew it." That's the irony, isn't it? You did know. You just didn't trust it. We call it instinct or a hunch or a feeling. But it's so much more than that. It's your consciousness resonating with the quantum field. The same field that connects every atom, every thought, every intention. When your frequency shifts, the field responds, arranging people, timing, and opportunities like magnets finding their way back into alignment. And that's what the signs are, magnetic reflections of your inner world. When you're lost in fear, the signs feel chaotic, delays, confusion, mixed messages. When you're aligned with trust, the same world feels synchronistic, coherent, as if every detail has been choreographed for you. Because it has. You felt that magic before. You've walked through days when everything flowed, when doors opened effortlessly, when you ran into the right person at the perfect time, when the timing of life felt divine. That wasn't luck. That was you, in tune, aligned, listening without even realizing it. The language of the universe doesn't arrive as a voice from the sky. It comes as patterns, repeating numbers, familiar faces, delays that save you, endings that make space for beginnings. It's the butterfly that lands beside you when you think of transformation, the feather on your path when you ask for reassurance, the light flickering when you whisper a name to the stars. It's everything you thought was random until you slow down enough to see how deliberate it's always been. Maybe you've been asking for a sign. Maybe you've begged the universe to show you what to do, where to go, who to trust. And the truth is, it's already answering. But it doesn't shout, it mirrors. It places breadcrumbs in the flow of your days and waits for you to notice the pattern they form. And the moment you do, the moment you whisper, "I see it," the rhythm intensifies. More patterns, more alignments, because awareness expands what it touches, and when you begin to notice, the universe celebrates, not by speaking louder, but by weaving its messages deeper into your life. Every coincidence you've ever brushed off was an invitation. Every repeated symbol, every unexpected call, every delay that changed everything was love, disguised as timing. And I know sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you think, if the universe is sending signs, why do I still feel lost? But you're not lost. You're being recalibrated. When your energy shifts, the old frequencies dissolve. People fade, paths close. You feel the silence and mistake it for absence. But silence is just the space before the next alignment clicks into place. You've felt that too, haven't you? That sense that something unseen is rearranging itself behind the scenes, and even though you can't explain it, a part of you knows you're being guided. That's not imagination. That's communication. The signs are not trying to convince you of something new. They're trying to remind you of something ancient, something your soul has always known, that you are connected, that you are heard, that every moment of your life, the strange, the delayed, the perfectly timed, is part of a larger living intelligence that loves you enough to repeat the message until you finally remember. You were never separate from it. So next time it happens, when the numbers align, when the thought you whispered finds its way back through someone else's voice, when the delay saves you from what you couldn't see, don't brush it off. Pause. Smile. Whisper softly, "I see you." Because in that moment, you're not just noticing a sign. You're speaking the language again. And the universe, relieved, smiles back. In light, in timing, in the quiet perfection of the moment you finally remembered. You've felt it all along. You've always sensed there was something bigger at play. Something that stitched moments together. Invisible, intelligent, deliberate. And maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. Science calls it the quantum field, a sea of invisible energy that holds every potential version of reality, existing all at once, waiting for observation to bring it into form. You don't move through this field. You are part of it. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel ripples through this unseen ocean like a vibration. And those vibrations don't disappear. They echo, reflect, and organize matter around them. So when you think of someone and they call, when you see the same number again and again, when timing bends itself into perfect synchronicity, you are not witnessing magic. You are witnessing resonance. The quantum field isn't mystical. It's mathematical. But what science is only beginning to understand is that consciousness might be the equation that completes it. Your awareness isn't just observing reality, it's shaping it. You are the lens through which possibility collapses into form. The observer doesn't simply watch. The observer creates. That means every coincidence, every alignment isn't the universe trying to get your attention. It's the universe responding to your frequency, to the signal you've been broadcasting all along. Because in this field, energy and information are inseparable. And you, human and infinite, all at once are both the sender and the receiver. You've been taught that your thoughts are private, that what happens in your mind stays there. But that's an illusion. Thought is vibration. Emotion is magnetism. Together they form the blueprint of the world you experience. Every fear, every longing, every dream is written into the frequency of your being. And the field reads it like code. It doesn't interpret your words, it translates your state. That's why saying "I'm fine" means nothing when your energy screams, "I'm lost." The universe isn't listening to your language, no, it's listening to your signal, and the field always mirrors what you are. Not as punishment, not as reward, as reflection. Because reflection is the only way consciousness can see itself. Light can't know it's shining until it meets a mirror. Energy can't know it's vibrating until it meets resistance. And you, this small, beautiful fragment of the infinite, can't remember what you are until life reflects it back through timing, patterns, and symbols. This is why things repeat. The same lessons, the same people, the same emotion. They loop not because you're cursed, but because the energy is unresolved. It keeps echoing through the field, searching for your awareness to meet it and say, "I see you now." I understand the moment you do, the loop dissolves, the pattern ends, the reflection changes. That's what awakening really is, not escaping the illusion, but seeing it for what it is. A mirror made of light, reflecting your inner state through the language of matter. The quantum field doesn't reward positivity or punish negativity. It simply matches coherence. When your inner world is chaotic, the signals you send out are distorted. And reality, being the perfect mirror it is, reflects distortion back. But when you align, when thought, emotion, and intention move in harmony, the field organizes itself around that clarity. Synchronicities multiply, opportunities appear, time bends. Because coherence creates visibility, and what's coherent becomes magnetic. You've seen this happen before. Those days when you felt completely aligned, when you were in flow. You thought it was luck. It wasn't, it was physics. Your internal frequency synchronized with the field and reality moved to your rhythm. This is the secret mystics have spoken of for centuries, the same truth science is just beginning to map. The universe is not separate from you, it is you, expressed through frequency, feedback, and form. When you meditate, when you breathe slowly, when you fall in love or lose yourself in beauty, your energy changes, it slows, it expands, it becomes coherent. And in that coherence, you become readable to the universe again. That's when the signs appear. Not because something out there changed, but because you did. The signs are the echo of your own transformation. They are the language of alignment. They are the universe saying, "I hear you. Keep going." But here's where it gets even more beautiful. In the quantum world, observation collapses potential into reality. That means attention is the sculptor of existence. Whatever you give awareness to, what expands. Whatever you ignore, fades. And the signs follow this rule perfectly. The more you notice them, the more they appear. Because your noticing is participation. You are literally creating the conversation as you listen to it. Imagine standing at the center of a vast ocean of frequency. Every thought sends ripples outward. Every emotion returns as a wave. Some waves come back as people. Some as timing. Some as numbers, symbols, feathers, butterflies. It's all the same current. You, talking to yourself through the language of energy. And when you realize that, something inside you softens. Because suddenly you're no longer waiting for signs. You understand that you are the sign, that the universe isn't out there, it's in here. Whispering through intuition, through synchronicity, through the magnetic dance of cause and resonance. This is not philosophy. It's physics wearing poetry. The same field that binds the galaxies is the same one that carries your thoughts. Every frequency seeks harmony, and harmony feels like meaning. That's why you recognize truth when you hear it. Not because someone convinced you, but because your vibration remembers. So next time a pattern repeats, don't rush to explain it away. Pause, observe, feel the resonance beneath the moment. Ask yourself, what is this reflecting in me? Because the moment you ask, you shift from reaction to creation. You move from victim to participant, and in that shift you change everything. The universe isn't mysterious because it's hiding. It's mysterious because it's interactive. It responds to curiosity, to openness, to awareness that listens without fear. And once you understand this, once you know that every coincidence is communication, you stop waiting for miracles. You start participating in them. You are not small. You are not separate. You are a fragment of infinite intelligence learning to recognize itself through the reflection of matter. Every sign, every delay, every alignment is just the quantum field speaking back to the part of itself that forgot it was divine. So the next time the universe feels silent, remember this. Silence is just uncollapsed potential, waiting for your awareness to give it shape, waiting for you to listen. Because the science behind the signs isn't out there in equations and telescopes. It's here, in the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat, in the space between your thoughts, in the pulse that connects you to everything that has ever been. The field is alive. It hears you. And right now, it's listening. The signs don't shout. They never have. They whisper, softly, patiently, through the quiet seams of your life, hoping you'll pause long enough to hear them. You see, the universe doesn't speak in grand gestures. It speaks in repetition, in intuition, in timing, in the gentle pull of something that feels both familiar and unexplainable. You've been taught to look for answers in noise, in data and logic, in someone else's opinion. But the truth has always been humming beneath all of that. It lives in the stillness between your thoughts, in the breath that happens when you finally stop trying to fix everything. That's where the whispers begin. They come as sensations. The goosebumps when you hear a sentence that feels meant for you. The flutter in your stomach before you make a choice. The calm that replaces fear when you decide to trust. They don't arrive as lightning bolts. They arrive as alignment. Subtle, simple, silent, Have you noticed how certain numbers follow you? 1111, 333, 222. They appear on clocks, receipts, license plates, not to impress you, but to remind you that reality is layered. That meaning hides inside pattern, that there's a choreography to everything you call coincidence. Or maybe your signs come through symbols. A feather on the ground the day you finally let go. A butterfly landing near you after a hard decision. A song that plays at the exact moment your heart breaks open. You tell yourself it's random. But the truth is, randomness doesn't repeat itself with such elegance. The whispers take many forms. Sometimes it's a delay that frustrates you only to reveal later that it saved you. Sometimes it's a sudden change of plan, a missed train, a canceled flight. The universe rerouting your story in real time, protecting you from what your logic could never predict. And sometimes the whisper is silence itself. When nothing seems to move, when every door stays closed, when the world feels like it's holding its breath. That's not punishment, that's divine timing, that's life saying, not yet. There's something you can't see still aligning for you. Most people don't hear the whispers, not because they're not there, but because they're too loud inside themselves to notice. They run from one task to the next, chasing certainty while the universe speaks softly behind them, waiting for the moment they finally slow down. Listening isn't passive, it's presence. It's the decision to stop forcing outcomes long enough to let life reveal what it's been trying to say. And when you do, you'll start to feel it, a subtle shift, like tuning an old radio. The static fades, the message clears. You realize the signs were never random, they were rhythmic. Every whisper carries a frequency, a message coded in energy. And when your awareness meets that frequency, it unfolds like a flower opening to sunlight. The meaning reveals itself not through thought, but through knowing. The kind of knowing that doesn't need proof. Because it feels like remembering. The signs will never demand your attention. They will invite it. They don't seek to convince. They seek to awaken. That's how the universe teaches. Through resonance, not resistance. So how do you recognize the whispers? By becoming quiet enough to sense energy, not just information. By noticing what expands you and what contracts you. Truth expands, fear contracts. It's that simple. If a choice feels light, it's alignment. If it feels heavy, it's resistance. That's the language, not of logic, but of energy. When you start to live this way, noticing, feeling, trusting, life begins to move differently. You no longer chase signs. They start to surround you. You no longer ask for proof. You begin to experience it. Synchronicities multiply, delays feel sacred, the ordinary becomes divine. You begin to walk slower, speak softer, breathe deeper, because something inside you knows you're walking in rhythm now. A rhythm that was always there, waiting for you to match its tempo. Sometimes the whispers show up through people. A stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. A conversation turns into an answer you didn't know you were asking for. That's not coincidence. That's orchestration. The quantum field rearranging itself to deliver the frequency you called for. Other times it's your intuition that carries the whisper. That subtle nudge that says wait. That pause you can't explain. That sudden shift in your gut when something's off. You can't reason with it, but you can trust it. Because intuition is simply the whisper of the universe translated through the language of your own body. You've felt it before. that sacred moment when you obeyed a feeling and everything unfolded perfectly. And you've also felt the ache of ignoring it, when you said yes against your better knowing and later realized you had known all along. That's the beauty of the whispered. They never punish, they only repeat, lovingly, patiently, until you listen, until you remember. And when you do, when you finally stop, breathe, and listen, the entire world seems to lean closer. You notice the patterns that were always there. The right people show up. The right words find you. The chaos starts to make sense, because awareness turns confusion into conversation. You realize the universe never stopped speaking. You just stopped believing that silence could hold sound. Every whisper you hear is proof that you are connected. To the field, to life, to everything. And the more you listen, the more fluent you become in the language of subtlety. The louder life seems, the quieter you'll learn to be. So tonight, as you lie in bed with your phone finally turned off, with the noise of the day dissolving into stillness, listen, not with your ears, with your being. Listen to the hum beneath the hum, the faint vibration behind your heartbeat. That's not emptiness, that's communication. That's the universe whispering, I never stop talking to you. And as your mind softens into quiet, as your breath slows, you'll begin to feel the message forming. Not in words, but in knowing. It will rise in your chest like light expanding through water. Gentle, familiar, and it will say, you are not separate from me. You never were. You just forgot how to listen. So take another breath. Let the silence hum again. Feel how alive it is. That's the conversation. That's the whisper. That's the universe. Finally being heard. You don't have to chase the signs. You don't have to decode every symbol or question every coincidence. You only have to become quiet enough to notice them. Because the universe was never hiding. It was simply waiting for you to slow down. Listening again isn't a skill. It's a return. A soft walk back to something ancient. The part of you that existed before words, before logic, before the noise of the world drowned out your own rhythm. It begins in stillness. Not the kind of stillness that demands effort, but the kind that happens naturally when you stop running. When you stop trying to control the flow of life and finally allow yourself to float in it. The art of listening to the universe is not about doing more. It's about being less distracted, less hurried, less afraid of silence, because silence isn't empty, it's full of information. It's where energy speaks before form does, and that's where every sign begins. Start there, with breath, with the rise and fall of your chest. That's your first language of connection. The inhale reminds you that life is entering you. The exhale reminds you that you belong to it. Every breath is a message. I am here. I am listening. Then begin to notice, not analyze, just notice, the patterns that repeat, the people who arrive at strange timing, the numbers that follow you through your days, the feeling that something unseen is arranging itself behind the curtain of your reality. You don't need to understand it, you only need to witness it. Awareness itself is enough. Because awareness changes frequency. The moment you notice, you collapse potential into meaning. And meaning is how the universe knows you're awake. When something repeats, pause, don't rush past it. Ask softly, what is this trying to show me? The answer will not come as a thought. It will come as a feeling, a small, warm click of knowing in your chest. That's the signal. That's how energy says yes. When life delays you, trust it. Don't curse the traffic, the missed call, the waiting. Delay is not denial, it's divine timing. Sometimes the universe holds you in stillness so you don't collide with something not meant for you yet. Trust the pause. Because in the pause, life is rearranging itself to match your next vibration. When intuition speaks, act. Before your mind interferes, before logic talks you out of what your soul already knows. Intuition is the language of alignment, and every time you follow it, you strengthen your fluency in the unseen. The more you trust, the louder the whispers become. The more you doubt, the quieter they grow. Not because the universe gets angry, but because your attention tunes the dial. Whatever you focus on, you amplify. Focus on noise, you get static. Focus on stillness, you get signal. Listening again also means releasing control over the outcome. You don't need to script the way the signs appear. You don't need to demand proof. You only need to open space, because miracles don't arrive in crowded rooms, and then they appear where there is room to land. So clean the clutter inside your mind. Let go of needing to know how. Let go of timelines. Let go of forcing. The universe doesn't rush, it synchronizes. It always knows the shortest path to harmony. And it's never the path of resistance. Sometimes listening again looks like rest, like saying no, like walking away from what no longer feels aligned, even when it still makes sense on paper. Because energy doesn't lie, and when your vibration shifts, truth feels different in your body. It becomes undeniable. There's a sacred moment that happens when you start to live this way. You stop searching for signs and start recognizing them as mirrors. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start realizing it's happening through you. You stop asking, well, what does this mean? And start whispering, thank you for showing me. Gratitude is the purest form of listening. It tells the universe, I see you. I trust you, and the universe, relieved, replies by giving you more to be grateful for. Because gratitude is coherence, and coherence is how energy becomes form. When you begin to listen again, you also begin to remember how natural this has always been. Children know this language instinctively. They follow what excites them. They cry when something feels off. They don't second-guess intuition. They live by it. You once did too, and you can again. The whispers of the universe were never meant to be mystical secrets. They are practical tools for living in flow with creation itself. Every symbol, every delay, every sudden coincidence is simply guidance made visible. You don't have to earn it. You only have to notice it. And when you do, life becomes astonishingly precise. The right book finds you. The right person crosses your path. The right words come through at the right time. It looks like magic, but it's just alignment. Energy meeting itself in perfect timing. So the practice is simple. Be present. Be still. Be available. Trust your inner signals more than outer noise, and speak the simplest prayer of all. Not show me, but help me remember how to see. Because the signs are not external events. They're reflections of your awareness expanding. The more awake you become, the clearer the reflections grow. That's why silence feels sacred now. Because silence is where awareness returns home. Every unanswered question in your life has already been answered. You just haven't heard it yet. But you will. Not through effort, but through surrender. Not through seeking, but through stillness. So tonight, before you sleep, put your hand over your heart and whisper, I am listening again, and feel what happens inside. A soft warmth spreads. That's connection. That's the quantum field responding. That's the universe saying, welcome back. Tomorrow the signs will be there, in the faces you meet, in the delays that save you, in the small divine details of ordinary life. You won't have to look for them. You'll simply recognize them. Because once you start listening again, the conversation never really stops. It just deepens, and you'll realize the universe was never testing you. It was teaching you gently how to hear its language again. A language made of silence, timing, and love disguised as coincidence. So breathe. Be still and listen. The signs have always been speaking. You're just finally quiet enough to hear them. The universe never stopped speaking. It only grew quiet when you did. Its language didn't vanish. You just forgot the sound of it inside your own soul. But now, you remember. You can feel it again. The soft vibration behind every moment, the subtle rhythm weaving through the hours of your day, the unspoken harmony between what you want and what life gives you. That hum, that pulse, is the conversation you were born to have. It's been there since the beginning, before your first thought, before your first word, before you learned the world's language of noise and control. You once knew how to listen with your whole being. You once spoke fluently with silence. And tonight, you return to that knowing. The invitation isn't loud. It doesn't demand your attention. It waits, gently, in the stillness of your heart, in the moments between one breath and the next. It asks for nothing, except your presence. To listen again is to surrender the idea that you are separate. It is to remember that there has never been a you and a universe, only awareness experiencing itself from two directions. You looking out and life looking back. The wave recognizing it was always the ocean. Every sign, every synchronicity was never the universe reaching out to find you. It was the universe reminding you that you were never lost. You were the signal and the receiver. You were the question and the answer. You were both sides of the same conversation. So tonight, as the noise fades, as your body softens into quiet, close your eyes. Feel the air move through you. That's not just breath. That's the cosmos breathing you back into itself. Every inhale, the universe expanding through your lungs. Every exhale, you returning to it. There is no boundary between the two. It's always been one continuous motion. You and creation dancing in rhythm. Do you hear it now? The whispers you once ignored? They're still here. The numbers, the patterns, the divine timing, they never left. They've simply been waiting for you to remember the language. And now that you do, they'll speak again. But not as mystery, as recognition. You'll see beauty where you used to see coincidence. You'll see precision where you used to see chaos. You'll see grace where you used to see delay. Because when awareness expands, everything becomes sacred. Every moment becomes a message. Every silence becomes sound. The invitation isn't to seek signs, but to become one. To live in such alignment that your very presence is a message from the universe to everyone who meets you. A quiet reminder that magic still exists, that connection still breathes between all things. To listen is to live as frequency, to let life flow through you instead of around you, to stop chasing meaning and start radiating it, to stop trying to understand the pattern and start being the pattern. Because the truth is, you were never meant to interpret the universe. You were meant to feel it, to move with it, to trust it. And when you do, life rearranges itself in ways that take your breath away. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right souls. Not because you forced it, but because you finally tuned yourself to the frequency where those things already exist. You become the receiver and the transmitter of alignment itself. You start walking slower, not out of caution, but out of reverence. You start speaking softer, not from doubt, but from grace. You begin to live in conversation with everything, with the wind, the light, the silence between sounds. You realize that even the smallest thing, a drop of rain, a flicker of light on your wall, the way the night hums when the world falls asleep, are all part of the same orchestra. And somehow you're not just listening to it. You are it. You are the music, the silence, and the listener all at once. The invitation has always been simple. Listen, not with your mind, but with your awareness. Not to seek control, but to find communion. Not to ask for signs, but to remember that you are one. And when you forget, when the noise returns, when life gets heavy and logic feels louder than intuition, come back here. To the breath, to the silence, to the soft hum behind your heartbeat. It will always guide you home. Because the universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It only needs you to be present. Every time you return to presence, you open the door again. You say yes to the dialogue that never ended. And the universe, smiling quietly, says, "Welcome back. I've been waiting. You might not hear it in words, but you'll feel it. In the warmth that spreads through your chest, in the calm that replaces fear, in the tears that come for no reason at all. That's how truth arrives. Not as explanation, but as remembrance. And from that place of remembrance, everything becomes alive again. The trees, the sky, the people you pass, even the moments of stillness between your thoughts. They all shimmer with the same presence. Because now, you're listening. Not just to the universe, but to yourself, to the frequency of being that was never apart from it. So when tomorrow comes, walk through your day with soft eyes. See patterns as poetry, see coincidence as choreography. See yourself not as a spectator of the divine, but as a note inside its endless song. The invitation is eternal. Every sunrise repeats it. Every silence carries it. Every moment, no matter how ordinary, is asking the same question. Are you still listening?